Welcome to Learn Commerce PU online classes. Don't forget to like our video and subscribe our YouTube channel for all the updates.
Welcome to second PU Computer Science online classes. In last class, we have learned that some important concept from SQL commands. The important concepts are select command, insert into command, delete command, update command, order by clause, group by clause, and some important group functions are count function, max function, min function, distinct or average function, sum function, and also we completed the concept. The concept is the distinct keyword and we know the meaning of the distinct. That means here we can say to eliminate all the duplicate record and to access only the unique records. And after completing the distinct, the joins, and such join is using maybe to join two table or more than two tables. Some columns we are going to get from one table and some are from the second table, and we know the types of the joins are inner join, left join, right join and self join, and also we can say about our full join. And after completing all those concepts, our next important concept, that is the null. Now we know that why, because in two ways we can say that the first thing is about our null and second thing we can say about our not null. The null means in cell no value, correct? No, in cell no value we are going to use, or in simple meaning we can say that the SQL null is a field and it has been left blank, so that is called as the null. But what do you mean by a not null? That means such cell should contain some values, so that is called as the is not null. Now let's the first thing about our null. So the SQL null is the term and used to represent missing value. That means the in cell no any value is there, or the value that is equal to the blank, or in other words we can say that the field with or the null value in a table is a value in a field that appears to be blank, that is also called as the null, or in simple meaning we can say as about the field with null value is a field with no value, that is equal to the blank value. But it is important to understand that the null value is different than zero value. Maybe this is your table and in table maybe some columns are there and the first column name is the ID, second column name is the name and third one is the age. So some of the columns are there in table and this is called as the cell. In each cell we need to enter some of the values, and in first cell I enter the value as 1 and in second cell entering the value I am going to enter the value as 2, but in third cell I am not going to enter any value. So that means this is the example of null value. Clear this point? So we can say that the field with null value means that it has been left blank, okay, during record creation. So it is important to understand that the null value is different than zero value. But if you are just creating, that means during the record creation if you are without writing any value, so this is called as the null value. But in case if you are using any value, the value is the 0 or maybe the value is the minus or any value or that contain the spaces. In this case if any value if you are entering maybe the plus value, minus value, it is not called as the null value. So very important note about the null value. It is important to understand that the null value is different than zero zero value or a field that contain a spaces. So clear the meaning of the null. Now let's the next thing about our the null value or the basic syntax of the null value while creating a table. So here the SQL query, why? Because we know that everything going to start by using our SQL structured query language, and in this example first of all I want to create the table, and for some table of a column I am using as the null and some are with the not null, and you know the difference between null as well as with the not null. So first thing, the create table, and the table name is the employees 2020. Okay, then opening of the parenthesis, and after opening of the parenthesis I am referring or I am using some of the columns with their data type. So the first column name is the ID, and the sort of data type it going to use the data type is the number, and the size of the column or the field that is the 5. Then we need to use the comma. And second thing about the second column name is the name, and the data type char, and after that the size of the column. And after writing we know that why? Because whatever I return the constant, and after that constant underscore name, it's a optional. If you want you can write, otherwise let it be this one. It's not necessary to use the constant underscore name. Why? Because the syntax, whatever the syntax is there, all those syntax within bracket are the optional. So the constant, but also in this example I want to use the constant underscore name. So the constant name just only for namesake I used as the nm underscore nn, and later words I used one most important constant. The constant is the not null. So what do you mean by a not null? That means we can say that we need to enter some value in each cell of a column. Okay, in this this cell name is the, or the column name is the name here, and the third column name is the department, and data type is the char, size of the column 10, comma, next column age, and data type number, size is the 2, and next column salary, data type number, and size is the 10, and later next one the last column name of the table employees 2020, the name is the city, and data type is the char, and the size of the city column that is the 10, and after writing all those in correct manner, when you are pressing the enter button on that tab, will get one message. The message is the table created. Clear this point here. So the name of the table is the employees 2020, and this table has some of the columns are ID, name, department, age, salary, city here. But the most important note we can say here, or here we can say the not null signifies that the column always contain an explicit value of a given data type. Correct? No? Here, why? Because here many columns are there. Just only for one column, the name of the column is the name column, and for the name column I used the most important constant. The constant is the not null. So in case when you are using the not null to any column, that means such column or that columns always contain or accept an explicit value of a given data type. We need to enter some value to those columns here. But also we can say that here some of the columns are there, but we did not use not null. So what do you mean by a not null? That means, or which means this column could be null. Clear this point here. So here some of the columns, the not null column, that is just only the one. The name of the column is the name, and for is null columns are number, that is the ID, next column is the department, next one is the age, next column is the salary and city. So all those that we did not use the not null. Clear this point here. Not null, that means such columns could be null. So this is the difference between is null and is not null. Clear this one. Now let's some of the example or the usage of the is not null operator. So the following is the usage of the is not null operator. So first example, it's going to start from by using query. So the SQL query and select. Why? Because I already created the table. Why? Because some of the columns are not going to match to this table, but also you have to imagine it. I created the table with the name, ID, name, age, address, salary, okay, and the table name is the employees 2020 here. Now after creating all those columns in table employees 2020, I want to select some of the columns, or maybe I want to select all the columns here. So I am going to use one example by using the table. The table is the employees 2020. So I am selecting the columns are ID, comma, name, comma, age, comma, address, comma, salary from employees 2020 is not null. Clear this point here? So that means I am using one example. All those columns I used one most important constant. The constant is the is not null. That means we can say that that column always contain except and explicit, okay, the values of a given data type. So this is the most important note. The note is the is not null. That means many columns are there. Maybe the columns are the ID, name, age, address, salary from table name is the employees 2020 and the note is the is not null. That means we can say that the column contains some explicit value of a given data type. Now let's the second example. So the second example I want to tell about the following or the usage of the is null operator. Clear this point here? The first example, this is the example for our is not null. Now the second example, whatever I am going to explain, this example for our or the suitable example for the is null operator. So how I am using or how I am going to write such query or the formula just to get is null operator example. So the first one is, we know that why, because everything going to start from the SQL structured query language, and I am going to select, I already created one table. The table is the employees 2020 and such a table have some of the columns. The columns are ID, name, age, address, salary here, and later I am using one most important note. The note is the is null. Clear? So SQL, then I am using the operator select ID, comma, name, comma, age, comma, address, comma, salary from employees 2020 where salary is null. Clear this point here? Where salary is null. Why? Because that column could be null. Maybe we know it not necessary to enter any value or maybe all value in those columns. Clear this point here? So this is the meaning of the is null and the is not null. Clear? So and later next thing about our, and before going to go to the next concept, the concept name is the alias. The last thing we can say in our null or the SQL null. What about the unknown value? So which one is called as the unknown value? We know that sometimes the null value can cause some of the problems when you are going to select the data. Correct? No? Maybe you want to select any data but the data is not there. Why? Because such cell contain some of the null value. So we can say that here in our SQL null, sometimes it creating some of the problems when you are going to select the data here. And we also know that why, because when you are going to compare the unknown value to another value. Why? Because maybe the first one there is no any value, and in second thing we having some of the value is the 2. Is it possible to make the comparison? Why? Because here no value is there, but in our second thing we have some of the value is the 2. 2 here. Is it possible to make the comparison? No, it's not possible to make the comparison. So we can say that the result is always unknown. Maybe if you have some of the value here, maybe you have some of the value here, we can make the comparison. Why? Because in first the value is 1 and in second where the value is the 2. So we can make the comparison. Maybe we'll get the result true or false, maybe equal or not equal. But here we can say that in first place there is no any value, but in second place I used some of the value is the 2 here. So always when we have no value, when you are going to select any unknown value, the result is always unknown. So because of this reason it creating some of the problems, okay, the null value creating some of the problems, okay, here, and not included in the final result, all those null value. So this is some of the important note about our null value and the is not null value in SQL. And after completing about our is not null or is null, now let's the next thing about our alias, alias. So what do you mean by alias? Why we using the alias in this case? So we can say that you can rename a table when you want to rename a table. Why? Because we already created the table name with the name of the table, that is the employees 2020. I want to rename the table. Clear this point here? So how it can possible? So such one we can rename, or such one we can do by using our alias command here. So you can rename a table or column temporarily by giving another name to the column or the table. But how we are using the command? The command is only going to start from the SQL query, and later was we need to use as the rename employee to employees 2020. Clear this point here? Maybe here if you already created with the name of the table, that is the employees 2020, on that time we need to use as the rename employees 2020 to employees 2021. That means whatever is that, and from which table or by using which name we created the table, we just going to rename to that table here. But next time when you want to view such a table, we need to use as the select here, select a star from, that is employees 2021. Clear this point? Why? Because now just only we rename such a table by using the command like our alias, and the alias command is used to rename a table or maybe to rename a column temporarily by giving another name. And how we are using the command? The command is the rename employee to employees 2020. Clear this point? And later next one is the semicolon. On that time only we will get the message as the table renamed, okay. And later the next thing about our creating the views. So what do you mean by a view? But because maybe you want to view the table here, you want to look at the table, so that is called as the view of a table. Clear this point here? So we can say that creating views. So the database view, what do you mean by a database? We know that database is a collection of information, and all those information we collecting by using the table, and after that, after collecting all those information in table, we are going to view the table, the view of a table. So such or the database view are created using the create view statement. Clear this point? I want to view the table. What are the informations are there in table? The table only call as the database views. That is the database collection of information. So I want to view the table. So such viewing of a table is possible by using the command like our create view statement command, or we can say the view can be created by using single table. We can view any single table, or maybe sometime if you want to view any multiple table, or maybe more than one table we can view by using our create view statement. And later here to create a view, I want to view the table. That means the user has to use or should contain the appropriate system privileges. Now what do you mean by a system privileges, and what are the command going to join with our system privileges? Why? Because now just only I said to create a view, I want to view the table. So the creation of a view, we know that view means the view of a table. We need to just look at the table, what are the informations are there in the table. So all those, if you want, then user has to create some of the appropriate system privileges. Clear this point here? Now what do you mean by a system privileges, or what are the command going to add in our system privileges? We know that the meaning of the privilege, that is called as the permission. So the system permission, so some of the command going to join in our system privilege or the system permissions are create command to create the table, alter command to make some changes in the table, or drop command on the database object. We know the meaning of the drop command. Entire table is removed just by using the command like our drop command. Clear this point? If you want to remove the entire table, that means here not just only one record from the table or maybe anything from the table, the every table, the whole table or the entire table going to delete by using the command like our drop table command here. So in this case we can say the user has to use the appropriate system privileges, and we know that some of the system privileges commands are create command, alter command, as well as our drop command on the database object. And after completing the meaning of the create views, that means the view of a table, now let's the basic syntax of the create view statement. So how we are using the syntax or the basic create view syntax is as follows. So the first thing is about our create view underscore name as select column 1 comma column 2 comma. If more columns are there, you want to view from the table, you can write one by one by using the comma. From which table you want to view all those columns. So the table underscore name, where, then condition, and maybe you can use such a square bracket before the where, otherwise after the where no any problem. So I opened the square bracket, such a square bracket going to close by using the semicolon. Okay, so this is the syntax of the create view statement. So how we are using the example, I want to view some of the column of a table, employees 2020, or maybe whatever the table you created, you want to view all those columns of a table here. Then we need to write all those syntax here. Now let's one simple example for our creating view of a table. So the SQL query going to start later, next one create view, and which table you want to view, we need to write the name of the table. So the employees 2020 underscore view, we know the meaning of the view, that means we are going to view the table, we are going to see the table here. So underscore view as select some of the columns. What are the columns you want to select from this table or from that table? So as select name name comma age from employees 2020, that means just only some columns you selected from the table employees 2020. Clear this point here? So some of the columns are, I want to view just only some columns are name, age. The name and the age, just two columns you selected from the table employees 2020. And later what's the difference to our second example? Why? Because in our second example I completed by using this star. So the SQL query select star from employees 2020 underscore view semicolon. So what do you mean by a star? Why we using this star? That means here no any particular record or no any particular column we are going to access from the table. How many columns are there in table? Employees 2020, every columns are going to access just by using our this command, create view command, and we know that by using the star symbol. So we need to write the syntax as the select star from employees 2020 underscore view semicolon. Clear this point here. On that time when you are going to press enter button, all columns of a table employees 2020 here we can view from the table employees 2020. Thank you.
Don't forget to like our video and subscribe our YouTube channel for all the updates.